Welcome back to Chris in Retro. Tonight's video, I made another video earlier and I'm decided to make a second one this evening. But this one is a follow-up from one I did about 6 months ago. And I was going to do this earlier, but I just kind of wanted to wait a little bit and think about how I wanted to position this. Um, about 6 months ago, I did a video on Conor McGregor, and the whole point of the video was to say that this high-risk living that he's living right now, he's not exempt from total collapse. And that had some controversy around it. I'm a small channel. I got 11,400 views of this thing and just a boatload of comments on it. So many very positive with the position, which was super encouraging. But there was a lot of debate in there about whether, he's too rich to collapse. He's, tied to the Irish mafia was some things that were said. And I don't know if any of that's true. I know he's rich, but I don't know about the rest of that stuff. You never know. Sometimes they build up the hoopla. He's really good about promoting himself in fights. So maybe that's part of that whole thing. I really don't know. But there has been comments made around that. The point is there was this just general disbelief that Conor McGregor could ever get to a place that he was going to have total collapse. And my argument is, as human beings, as I said in that video, it's a slow roll. Addiction is a slow roll. It'll wait. It waits for you your whole life. It'll catch you. And if you don't get it in check, it doesn't really matter how much money you have. Addiction just doesn't care. And I suggested in that video that maybe the fall is that maybe it gets to a point where his kids just can't take it anymore, and maybe his collapse is the fact that his family is separated at some point. I don't know. I don't wish that on him. I'm just saying that there's plenty of ways that men can fall without losing every dollar in their bank account. I also discussed that powerful men only need to have the right enemy. If you are not keeping it together, and you're just assuming that because you're the most powerful person in the room, that's the reason why you can get away with it. It's entirely possible there's other people more powerful out there than you, and regardless of who you are, or if they have an angle on you that can bring you down. So we'll hold that for a minute. So I did a little bit of research in the background of this just to talk about some of the things that have been coming out recently. So since that video, and again, that was 6 months ago. So, it's been some time. And, since that video, there's been there's been a growing concern relative to his specific behavior. And again, I am a Conor McGregor fight fan. I was a fan of him coming into the sport. I haven't been really a fan of his behavior up to this point. I don't have to be. I'm really not much. I'm nothing to him. But I'm not a fan of how he's behaving himself, having had such prominence in the sport. But I'm covering this just to illustrate that what I was saying back then is already starting to manifest even further since then. And there was utter disbelief that what I was suggesting is that a man with this much power and this much fame could collapse. And yet he's definitely been rolling the dice all the way through that. So here's a few of the things that have been happening in the life of Conor McGregor. So he was at a Houston basketball game, got himself in trouble with some woman in the bathroom, allegation of a sexual assault. I don't know if it's true. There was some circumstances around it that made it not really believable for me, but, maybe I'm just biased based on some of the content creators out there like Jesse on Fire that I follow. I feel like his position was pretty strong on that one. And I tend to agree with his statement on that, but I also would hate to say anything against a victim in a circumstance like that, but it just seemed a little odd. Anyway, neither here nor there. He keeps putting himself in these circumstances that you wonder what he's up to. Then he's had a number of public controversies. He's had one with being seen with a female. It's like a co-promoter with something. I don't even recall what the details were around it, but he's got a very faithful fiance at home, and the mother of all of his children. And she's been loyal to him all the way through. And so it's troubling to see a man, flaunt walking around with women and anything else, regardless of what their relationship rules are. For me, it just doesn't sit right to see that behavior. And so those are all public knocks against his character him as a man. Since then, so beyond that, so these are just like obnoxious behaviors. I'm going to share a few other things here that I thought were interesting. So I'll pull those up. All right, so now we're starting to talk about, back then I was saying that his mental health and some of the things that were going on are concerning and they're going to grow. And it was just, for the most part, people didn't believe what I was saying. And I unfortunately, addiction is a very predictable animal. You're not a genius to predict, ever declining quality of life. So this is an article about how There was something happened, something after one of his aunt's funerals, and I don't know what happened, but he was acting odd and just they have video of him just speeding away for no reason at all. So that's July 19th. Well, Conor McGregor, blah, blah, let's see where it is. He was spotted leaving the Saddle Club in Birkenhead before posting a bizarre voice note to Twitter, although he was also seen hastily leaving the venue. So this was one where they saw him speed off, and then he had just some weird. I've heard the video. It's just a very bizarre video that he had. So that's one example. That was in July. So now here we are in November 14th, and his own coach is concerned about his mental health. Now, his coach is being good to him because his coach is basically couching it in the framework of this. Conor is a fighter. He hasn't been used enough, and he had a very gruesome injury. For those that don't know, the last time he fought, it was pretty bad, and so it's taken a while for him to get back on his feet. There's allegations that he's using steroids to heal, which it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's healing his leg. He's been out of the testing pool. I guess he's now back in it, and it's going to take a while for him to clear testing for steroids and things like that. But neither here nor there. It's been an extended period of time on the cage, and his coach is saying that he's really concerned about Conor's mental health. Now, the headline is a little bit misleading because what he's saying is that he's concerned about his mental health and the fact that he's not been training and fighting. That's the context of this article. The headline alone, they're clicking us because most of us are at least acknowledging that Conor has a problem with drugs and alcohol. So anyway, so his coach is talking about his lack of activity that concerns about his mental health, but I think the underlying tone, that's a cover story. I think that he really essentially sees what everybody else sees and has to be concerned, especially if there's any friendly acquaintance for all the years that they've trained together. Now this leads to the next one. So this article, I'm like, oh wow, no, Dana White's coming out about this, but then I looked at the date. This is 5 years ago, where Dana White he's saying it's known I care about Conor, but there's one thing he said down here. This isn't the Conor. This isn't the Conor has always been had that type of. The reason he's such a huge star is that he has this unbelievable personality. He's very cocky and brash and everything else, but this is just so over the top. It makes me feel like something is wrong. He was offered he was offended yesterday that I said that, but yes, I agree with you. This is a guy who's acting like something's not right. This is 5 years ago. And this is specifically related to, he got in a beef with Conor McGregor, or Khabib, and threw like dollies and things like that through the side of Khabib's bus and injured a couple of the teammates. So that's that. So here we are seeing all these behaviors that even 5 years ago, there was some initial concerns. So he's progressed from 5 years ago. That was considered just bad behavior, and he got criminal charges against that, and somehow that all got dealt with, and he stayed in the program and whatever else. I mean, that all got worked through. What I find interesting is that 5 years ago, it was the start of that behavior. Now, if I go back to my own life, I could go back to 2008 and an incident that happened in 2008. And if I had known that behavior that was happening in 2008 was going to manifest itself into an absolute utter destruction by 2017, I would have done something about that. But that season really just made it so that, it was just that one incident. And then it's, just this one incident. But the whole time they're actually layering. That's all the same type of thing, and it's just getting worse. And I see this in Conor as well. So 5 years ago, there was this thing. And if you look at these instances, they've been ever growing. They're more than just a fiery, youthful Irishman fighter guy. They're now becoming just a pattern of behavior that says that he just can't behave himself routinely in public. And I wonder how many incidences that have not been reported that he's been involved in. So in that video, I also had something else that I wanted to talk about. I said that, all it takes is one enemy and one incident or somebody of equal power that has something against you, and your money and all that other stuff doesn't matter. All you have to have is the right enemy, and they can take you down. And I said that in the video. I'm loosely paraphrasing, but I did comment about it only takes the right enemy to be able to take you out. Nobody's really immune from that. And here we are. I think he's got the right enemy now. So Conor has had beef with the Irish government, and now, as I understand it, I don't know all the details of the story, but I guess it's related to some tweets that he sent out. There was some protests that were going on, and during those protests, he sent some tweets out. I guess he's got some kind of investigation in him, and this was as of November 27th, so that's a few days ago, that the Irish government is investigating him. And they're investigating based on some public disturbance and rioting where somebody was killed in the crowd. Several people were injured in the crowd with a knife. And Conor was what they would consider amplifying the situation through his tweets. And that's, he was sympathetic to their cause, but that's, they're alleging that, he was more involved in that. And again, here's another article, another story on the exact same thing that came out about 13 hours ago. So this is all fresh. So why am I showing all this, and what does it have to do with anything? Well, I'm only showing this to say, as an illustration. It's really just kind of a live illustration. As I was saying with addiction, it grows. It does not go dormant, and it will hunt you, and it'll find you, and it's a slow roll, and it'll get you eventually. And it doesn't matter who you are; it'll get you. If you don't put it in check, it'll get you. And so Connor has a series of mischievous events. He's got a series of appearances of infidelity. He's now got another child was just born, I believe, in the last 2 weeks. So it's just a baffling circumstance there with his home. And then, now he's getting ready for an upcoming fight. So he's got all these dynamics going on in his life, but his partying, I think, really left him in a real rough spot here. And so now he's at a point where the Irish government has chosen to publicly name him as a problem by investigating him. So any types of those investigations, I'm sure he'll move past that, and that'll be fine. It still comes to the point that now he's got a very very aware, powerful enemy that could, be a real problem for him. Just ask Andrew Tate and others that have had that same type of thing happen to them. I'm not supporting Andrew Tate, by the way. I think he's a scumbag, but that's just neither here nor there. But the fact is that he felt his power and money was going to keep him from getting in trouble. And sure enough, all it took was the government to get involved, and he was toast. And I see Connor doing the same thing. And now he really is in the crosshairs of a very powerful enemy. So to my point, your high risk living brings total collapse a lot closer than you think it is. 6 months ago, I would have never had any notion that Conor McGregor would ever have a powerful enemy that quick. I would expect another fighter, but he seemed to be pretty well insulated. But his lifestyle and his choices have put him in a situation right now where he's now facing off with the Irish government. And that's not many good things come from those types of situations, no matter how powerful you are. I don't wish that on him. I would love to see him get back in the cage and fight. I want to see his kids, him like turn around. I'd love to see, the fighters his kids become, if any of them do. And I just, could be a really good story based on where he's coming from. He just has really made some terrible choices, as we all do. And my argument on all this is that, as I said 6 months ago, I'm saying it today, your high risk living can cause total collapse no matter who you are. And I believe that Connor is in the crosshairs of a collapse if he's not careful. If you look at just how quickly this is how it's happened in many people's lives. It's slowly. So we talked about 5 years ago, and then it just rolls a little bit, and it's justified, and we put it away, and it goes quiet for a while, and all of a sudden it comes back out another little piece of trouble, and it goes away, and it's quiet, and that's been happening with him over the last several years. And now all of a sudden we're getting every 2 to 3 months some major event that Connor's getting involved in. And now the latest in the last 13 hours, the Irish government is investigating him. So I don't wish poorly on him, but he's an excellent illustration that nobody is exempt from collapse. Not one of us. Addiction will steal from all of us to the point that it kills us if we don't stop. There's nothing about addiction that's going to keep us alive and healthy. Not a thing. No matter who you are, no matter where you are. I hope he gets the help that he needs. I really do. And, for all of you, if you're having any struggles right now, don't think you're powerful, so powerful it can't happen to you too. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like and subscribe and comment if you like this video. If you don't like the video, comment. I'm curious to see what you have to say about it. I'm curious if you've seen the first one, if you're part of the 11,000 people that saw the first one, if, curious what the follow-up here means to you, and if you've seen the progression as I have, or if you've seen something else that maybe I'm missing something. But I really believe that we're seeing a significant rate increase in the amount of problems and gravity amount of problems that Connor has faced since 6 months ago when I first talked about this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next time we talk, please stay out of trouble.